On July 30th, 2012, a massive failure ripped through India's grid. In a matter of hours, 22 states went entirely dark, leaving 600 million people without electricity. It remains the largest blackout in human history. The lack of power immediately paralyzed human movement and local economies. 400 trains stopped dead on the tracks. Water plants shut down. In West Bengal and Jharkhand, 200 miners were suddenly trapped 700 meters underground in suffocating darkness. Money is ultimately just an accounting system. The capacity to do actual physical work, energy, is the real currency of human progress. Every time a hospital generator runs, a train moves, or a digital payment clears, a nation is spending energy. In the 17th century, India prioritized the trading of textiles and spices, while Western nations aggressively secured massive deposits of coal. Because manual labor couldn't compete with coal-fired manufacturing, India's share of global industrial output plummeted from 25% down to 2%. History shows a clear sequence. A civilization can only scale its wealth after it secures a reliable, high-density power source. Today, India's energy grid is dangerously fragmented. Transportation runs heavily on oil, cooking largely relies on LPG, industries require gas, and the baseload power plants burn coal. To feed this fractured system, India buys 89% of its crude oil, half of its natural gas, and immense quantities of coal from overseas. Millions of dollars leave the country every single day just to keep the lights on. Electricity offers a permanent fix. It acts as a universal energy carrier. If you can generate enough of it, electricity can replace those 4 separate imported fuels and run everything from cars to industrial factories. India has plenty of raw sunlight, but raw sunlight is highly volatile. Previous attempts to capture it at a massive scale, like the heavily funded solar farms in the Mojave Desert and the Sahara, ended up wasting billions of dollars because harsh weather and destructive sand degraded the hardware faster than it could be maintained. To sever its reliance on imported fossil fuels, India has to figure out how to convert aggressive, unpredictable desert sunlight into a highly stable, civilization-grade grid without suffering the same fate. This map shows the Rann of Kutch, the site of the Adani Khavda Renewable Energy Park. The footprint spans 538 square kilometers, 5 times the size of Paris, designed to hold 60 million solar panels and 770 wind turbines. But the geography actively fights infrastructure. During the day, temperatures routinely push past 50 degrees Celsius. That intense heat actually bakes traditional solar cells, drastically dropping their efficiency. Relentless winds carry heavy, light-blocking dust that coats the glass. Below ground, the soil is loose and heavily saline, a chemical composition that eats away at standard steel foundations. Standard engineering logic fails in these extremes. The builders couldn't just drop millions of glass panels into the sand and expect them to survive. Instead of building a rigid, static facility, the engineers approached Khavda as if they were designing a biological organism that could adapt to the hostility. The skin of the plant features double-faced solar panels. Automated algorithmic hinges physically tilt the panels throughout the day, hunting the sun across the sky and capturing additional light bouncing off the desert floor. For an immune system, autonomous robots constantly patrol the glass. They sweep away the blinding dust every few minutes, keeping the cells clear without wasting a single drop of water in an already parched desert. To protect the bones of the facility from the corrosive, salty earth, builders injected specialized stone columns deep into the loose sand. This created a highly stable, chemical-resistant foundation that won't rust away. The brain is a centralized AI control room. By constantly analyzing satellite imagery, live weather forecasts, and regional wind data, the system predicts massive power drops or spikes 15 minutes before they actually hit the grid. Finally, its stomach utilizes massive battery reserves and 5.2 megawatt onshore wind turbines. When the sun goes down, the desert winds naturally pick up, allowing the turbines to take over the night shift. By copying the adaptive logic of nature, Khavda resists the harsh desert environment, generating a continuous, stabilized flow of electricity. But producing clean electricity locally exposes a deeper geopolitical vulnerability. If the panels, the tracking hinges, and the giant wind turbines are all imported from outside the country, the system isn't truly independent. This chart shows how importing hardware keeps the capital outflow exactly the same. You trade a reliance on foreign oil for a reliance on foreign solar components, keeping the nation locked in a cycle of dependency. The actual solution isn't happening in the desert. It's happening hundreds of kilometers away at the Adani Mundra Solar Park in Gujarat. To control its energy, a nation has to manufacture the physical DNA of the hardware itself. Mundra is a massive end-to-end manufacturing facility. Here, raw materials become silicon ingots, cut into precise wafers, assembled into solar cells, and built into the exact modules and wind turbines deployed at Khavda. This domestic strategy, directed by Gautam Adani, closes the entire supply chain within India's borders. The hardware is built in Gujarat, and the electricity is generated in Kutch. This outlines the innovation loop. Dominance requires a rapid cycle: manufacture, deploy, harvest data, and refine. By owning the Mundra factory and Khavda testing grounds, India controls every node. The cycle accelerates, transitioning the country from assembling foreign parts to designing proprietary technology. Khavda solves the immediate math of generating clean electricity, but structurally it functions as the engine that finally secures a self-sustaining, deeply sovereign economic future for India.